I buried my father at 10 a.m. By 10:27, I was holding divorce papers in my hands, served by a man wearing my cologne and smiling like he'd won something. My wife didn't even wait until after the service. She handed me the envelope with a fake apology on her face, then went back to standing next to him. The man she swore was just a family friend. Meanwhile, my kids, our sons, 8 and 11, clung to his side like they'd already been reprogrammed. The youngest called him Dad, out loud, in front of everyone. I didn't yell, didn't throw the papers, didn't even blink. I just looked at the casket, nodded once, and said nothing, because what they didn't know was that I'd seen it coming. And I was ready. My name is Daniel Cross. I'm 43 years old, and I've spent the last decade working in structural forensics. I find stress points, weaknesses in steel, concrete, buildings, places no one else sees until it's too late. That's what I do for a living. Turns out, I do it in marriage too. It started 8 months earlier. Little things. Missed calls. Password changes. My wife, Erica, started dressing like she was always being watched. Lipstick for yoga. Gym bags with no sweat. Our kids mentioned someone named Jake, helping with homework when I was stuck on night shift. Jake who? I didn't confront her. I logged it. Every lie. Every excuse. Every late-night text she claimed was from her sister. I tracked them all. Quietly. Efficiently. Like I was writing a report for court, because deep down, I already knew I'd need one. Then came the job offer from Seattle, a promotion I didn't even apply for. Turns out, Erica had helped submit my resume behind my back. Said she was looking out for my career. That's when I knew she wanted me gone. Out of state. Easier to move her boyfriend in once I was on the other coast. So I did what any man with a tactical brain and a broken heart would do. I stayed. Played dumb. Smiled. Packed for Seattle, but never bought the ticket. And I started building. Not walls. Not weapons. Proof. Because if she wanted to burn the house down, I'd make sure the ashes spelled out her name. The morning of my father's funeral, I saw Jake's car in our driveway. Watched him through the camera I'd hidden inside the porch light. Kissing Erica while our sons were still inside getting dressed. At the cemetery, they stood together like they owned the family. She looked like a widow, not a wife. And Jake? He stood where my brother should have stood. Behind me, not beside her. Then came the envelope. Her hands didn't shake. Mine didn't either. She thought I'd crumble. But I wasn't grieving a marriage. I was burying a strategy. And hers had just walked straight into the trap I'd spent 6 months designing. After the funeral, I didn't go to the reception. I didn't follow the crowd back to the house. I drove to a diner on the edge of town, ordered black coffee, and laid out the envelope on the table like it was part of a blueprint. Inside, divorce petition, already notarized. Filed 2 days earlier. Grounds? Irreconcilable differences. Erica claimed I was distant, absent, emotionally unavailable. It didn't mention Jake. Didn't mention the hotel receipts I'd found 2 months ago when I mirrored her phone through our shared cloud account. Didn't mention the credit card charges, flowers, room service, wine, all billed to a card I paid for, under my name. Didn't mention the burner phone she'd been using to text him, the one I'd cloned and had quietly recording for weeks. It was clean, sterile, deceptive, and completely useless against what I'd been gathering. The key to surviving betrayal isn't reaction. It's positioning. And I positioned myself perfectly. A month before the funeral, I met with an attorney, a specialist in high-conflict divorce and covert asset protection. His name was Clay Wallace, former Marine. Quiet, precise, no small talk. The kind of man who didn't ask, "How do you feel about this?" He asked, "How much documentation do you have, and how clean is it?" I showed him my files. He said, "Start a custody journal. Don't let them bait you. Stay neutral. And if you can prove alienation, we can make this very uncomfortable for her." So I did. I tracked every late drop-off, every missed call from the boys when they tried to reach me. I noted when Jake picked them up from school without notifying me, which, by law, required my consent. Erica didn't think about that. She thought if the kids liked him, it wouldn't matter. But custody law doesn't care about feelings. It cares about consistency, disruption, and whether a parent has interfered with the other's access. She'd done all three. I added screenshots, videos, timestamps, texts. I stored everything on a private drive, mirrored, encrypted, and backed up in 3 separate locations. I didn't tell anyone. Not my brother. Not my mom. Not even my best friend. Because the less noise, the more power. Let them think I was slow, grieving, blindsided. Meanwhile, I was tightening the bolts beneath their stage. Back at the house, she posted a photo. Her, the kids, and Jake, smiling next to my father's memorial flowers. The caption said, "Moving forward with love." She had no idea what was coming. Not a fight, not a breakdown, but something much quieter, much more permanent. Something that can't be undone with apologies or spin. And it had already begun. The first thing I did after the funeral wasn't cry. It wasn't drink. It wasn't scream at her, or him, or the empty space in the bed I hadn't shared with her in weeks. It was back up the cameras. 3 motion-activated units hidden in plain sight. Porch light, garage beam, and a decorative thermostat no one ever touched. All synced to my private server, which she didn't know existed. I watched the footage from that morning again. Her walking out of the bedroom while Jake came down the stairs in the shirt I got for Father's Day last year. My kids were already dressed. Jake poured orange juice like he lived there. I took notes. No emotion, just detail. Time, date, who was present, who wasn't. I logged it into the journal Clay told me to keep. 1 entry per day? Concise. Clinical. Enough to show a judge a pattern. And judges love patterns. Erica, meanwhile, had already moved to stage 2 of her plan, control the narrative. She told the kids I'd needed space, that I'd been dealing with a lot, that Jake was just helping while I was working through things. She didn't expect me to stay in town. She thought I'd pack up and disappear like a wounded dog. That's how she painted me to friends and family. Her poor husband, too overwhelmed to be a real parent, too weak to face reality. I didn't argue. I let her talk. While she talked, I acted. I changed my mailing address to A.P.O. Box, quietly removed my name from joint credit cards, which, thanks to the evidence of her new domestic partnership, would now be considered non-marital debt. Clay had already filed the motion. Every dinner she bought Jake, every trip, every dollar she pulled from the joint account, now traceable, and on record. I started picking up the boys more. Not because I was allowed to, because she was sloppy. She double-booked dinners with friends and nights with Jake. I kept receipts, took photos, tracked when they were left alone with him, which, under state law, wasn't permitted without a written cohabitation agreement filed with the court. She hadn't filed one. I had that on record too. One night, my oldest son asked, "Are you and Mom going to fix it?" I didn't lie. I just said, "I'm fixing something," but not the way she thinks. Because Erica believed she was writing the final chapter. She didn't realize I'd started a brand new book. And this one wasn't a romance. It was a case study of how a man with no voice in his marriage built one hell of a paper trail. I stopped answering her texts, not out of anger, but because I didn't need to anymore. Every time Erica messaged me about the boys, it went through the parenting app my lawyer had required. The same one that timestamps communication and logs it for court admissibility. She called it paranoid. I called it insurance. Jake started picking the kids up more often, using my car seat, my schedule, my weekends. She didn't realize how that looked on paper, a non-custodial third party, overstepping legal bounds during an active divorce. The judge would care. Family courts always do. I stayed quiet. I didn't argue when she forgot to tell me about parent-teacher night. I just showed up anyway, sat alone in the back, took notes, shook hands with the teachers who looked uncomfortable saying Jake's name when they thought I didn't already know. I let them squirm. Because the best part of setting a trap is watching someone walk straight into it, while thinking they're dancing. One night, my youngest called me crying. He said Jake yelled because he spilled juice on the floor. Erica wasn't home. Jake had been drinking. The boys said it smelled like bad apple juice. I logged the call, recorded the time, filed an incident report through the custody app. No drama, just process. The next day, I bought the boys new phones, ones with parental tracking and a recording feature hidden in the emergency dial. My attorney signed off on it. From that point forward, anytime Jake raised his voice, I had a time-stamped recording. Erica didn't notice. She was too busy playing Happy Family on Instagram. She even posted a photo of Jake holding the boys at a 4th of July barbecue. The caption said, "Sometimes the right man was right beside you all along." The comments were full of hearts. I screenshot every single one. Meanwhile, my lawyer had filed a petition for temporary full custody, citing parental interference, unauthorized third-party involvement, and concerns of emotional instability in the cohabitating partner. Erica laughed when she got the notice. She wouldn't be laughing long, because inside that petition were printouts, audio files, GPS logs, school letters, and over 50 entries from the parenting app showing her repeated violations of our agreed-upon custody guidelines. We weren't in the courtroom yet, but I could already feel the temperature shift. Her confidence had a timer now. Jake was starting to get sloppy. He didn't like being questioned. Didn't like the boys talking about me at dinner. That would show up in the recordings too. And when it did, I'd be ready. Not with accusations, but with a binder. Labeled, time-stamped, signed, and indexed. Because some men throw punches. I build timelines. And this one was nearly complete. It started with a voicemail. Jake, slurring his words, calling me pathetic for weaponizing the court system. He didn't know his message was recorded, or that it was already forwarded to my attorney. He also didn't know the boys had heard it, sitting in the back seat while Erica was inside a store. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2? Jake showed up to a soccer game drunk. The coach pulled me aside, said, "Look, I don't want to get involved, but something's not right." I didn't argue. I just handed him a sealed envelope. Inside were 2 signed affidavits, one from the school counselor, one from the boys' after-school program, both documenting increasing emotional distress when Jake was around. That was the day I filed for an emergency custody hearing. Erica's lawyer tried to delay it, said I was trying to use minor disagreements as leverage. But the judge had already seen the file. 300 pages of silence. Page 1, a photo of my father's funeral. Erica holding the boys, Jake standing behind them. Date stamped, 1 hour before the divorce papers were served. Page 2, financial records, joint accounts drained 5 days later. Pages 3 through 100, the timeline, log entries, school records, missed appointments, unreported injuries. The night my youngest had a bruise on his shoulder and told his teacher he fell when Jake pushed him by accident. I had photos. Page 101, the audio files. Clean. Edited. No manipulation. One clip was just Jake shouting in the background while the boys sat silent in a locked room. The judge didn't speak for 20 full seconds after listening. Silence, again, doing more than words ever could. Erica was panicking now. I could feel it. In her rushed messages through the parenting app, in her sudden interest in family counseling, in the way she stopped tagging Jake in her posts. Too late. The hearing was granted. The date was set. And from that moment on, I saw the cracks form fast. Jake stopped showing up. Erica started forgetting drop-offs. The boys told me they were eating fast food 4 nights a week, and that Jake had moved his stuff out again. Again, that was the word that stuck. Because it meant instability. And in custody court, instability is everything. Clay and I went over the presentation. We didn't need drama. We didn't need to raise our voices. We just needed to show the pattern. And we had it. Every bruise, every skipped school day, every lie, lined up like dominoes. And she was about to watch them fall. I walked into the courtroom carrying 1 small binder and 0 emotion. Erica came in 10 minutes late, hair tied back, dressed in white like she was going to a baptism. Jake didn't show. She sat alone. No smiles now. No Instagram captions. Just darting eyes and a trembling leg under the table. My lawyer, Clay, stood when the judge entered. I didn't look at Erica. Didn't need to. She wasn't the audience anymore. The judge was. He glanced through the file we'd submitted, then looked up and said, "Mr. Cross, your documentation is exhaustive." Clay replied, "We believe the facts will speak for themselves, Your Honor." And they did. We didn't start with the affair. That would have made it emotional. No, we started with structure. Calendars, logs, missed pickups, unapproved handoffs to Jake, contradictory messages in the parenting app. Then we moved to the more serious stuff. Recordings, photos, school counselor statements, medical visit summaries, testimony from the coach, the affidavits, all of it signed, notarized, time-stamped. I didn't speak unless addressed. When the judge asked me why I hadn't responded to the initial petition for divorce, I simply said, "Because I was busy documenting." He nodded. Erica's lawyer scrambled to paint me as bitter, claimed I was trying to alienate the children from their mother through weaponized documentation. But the judge interrupted. He said, "The evidence shows that this father has not only complied with all parenting protocols, but has done so with remarkable patience under stress." Then he looked at her. He asked why she never disclosed Jake's involvement to the court, why there were no signed agreements, no supervised transitions, no safety protocols. Her lawyer tried to blame confusion, said things moved too fast. The judge didn't buy it. And then, like the final nail in a coffin that was already sealed shut, we played a clip from a school pickup. Jake yelling at my son in the background, saying, "Your real dad can cry all he wants, but he doesn't get to tell you what to do anymore." The room went cold. The judge asked Erica one question. Was that man living in your home at the time of this recording? She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The judge ruled immediately. Temporary full custody to me. Immediate suspension of unsupervised visitation until a psychological evaluation could be completed, not just for Jake, but for Erica. The gavel hit once. Clean. Final. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Because she hadn't. She saw the quiet man she thought she'd beaten. Not the strategist who never needed to shout. Only document. And now, the court had spoken louder than I ever would. After the ruling, Erica didn't say a word to me. She stood there in that courtroom like someone who'd just realized the gun she'd been waving around was made of plastic. Her lawyer whispered, tried to calm her down. But her eyes were wide, like she was finally doing the math and realizing I'd been steps ahead from the very beginning. And Jake? Gone. He disappeared the moment the custody ruling hit the clerk's desk. No more drop-offs. No more barbecues. No more school pickups. He deleted his Instagram, blocked her number. The boys never saw him again. Just like that. She was alone. Exactly where she'd put me for the last year. But here's the part no one tells you. Victory doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like quiet. The kind of quiet where your phone doesn't buzz every 10 minutes with some new lie. Where your kid sleeps soundly without asking why someone else is in your kitchen. Where you make breakfast in peace. I kept my head down. Didn't post. Didn't gloat. I showed up to every school event. Volunteered for the fall carnival. Sat in the front row of the parent-teacher conference. Not to prove anything. Just to be present. Consistent. Safe. Erica, meanwhile, started to unravel. I got messages through the app saying she wanted to talk. That the boys missed her. That maybe we could work out something more flexible. I didn't reply. Every message went into the log. Every maybe was another red flag. Family court doesn't care about guilt. It cares about patterns. And her pattern was now instability. She missed her first psychological evaluation. Claimed she forgot. Second one. She walked out halfway through. The doctor logged that too. My attorney barely needed to lift a finger at that point. I'd already done all the work, in silence. At the next hearing, the judge made the temporary order permanent. Full legal and physical custody to me. Supervised visitation for her, once per week, at a county-approved center, monitored and recorded. She broke down crying right there. And I didn't flinch. Because I wasn't the man she left anymore. I was the man who never raised his voice, and still got everything the law could give. The boys were quiet after the ruling. I didn't celebrate. We got milkshakes, went to the park, and I let them talk when they were ready. My youngest said, "Jake was mean." "You're not." That was the only validation I needed. She played her game loud. I built my win in silence. 2 weeks after the final hearing, she emailed me. Not through the parenting app. A personal email from an account I hadn't seen in months. The subject line was blank. The message was short. She said, "I didn't realize how far gone things were. Maybe we could talk. Not about court. About us." I didn't respond. Not out of anger. Just discipline. Because once you give someone access to destroy you, you don't hand them the keys again when they cry at the ruins. She thought time might soften me. That the silence meant regret. But she misunderstood the silence from the beginning. It wasn't regret. It was strategy. And now it was distance. Physical. Legal. Emotional. The boys stopped asking about her as much. They still loved her. I never poisoned them against her. I didn't have to. She wrote her own chapter in their minds, and no court transcript could erase that. When the court-appointed therapist asked them where they felt safest, both said, "Dad's house." That was logged. Meanwhile, Erica's life continued to implode. Her job let her go. Something about missed deadlines and disruptive personal matters. Jake never resurfaced. Rumor was he'd moved across the state. Blocked her on everything. She'd built her future on a man who disappeared the moment consequences showed up. And she lost her children in the process. Not because I fought dirty, but because I didn't fight at all. I documented. One night, I got another email. This time longer. She apologized. Blamed grief, stress, confusion. Said she missed the life we had. Missed the quiet version of me. I read it once, then archived it. There was nothing left to rebuild. You don't pour a foundation on scorched earth. You clear it. Start over. On new ground. The boys and I did exactly that. We moved out of the old house. Not because we had to, but because it felt right. A fresh place, new paint, no ghosts in the hallway. Just a garage big enough for weekend projects and a yard wide enough to stretch. No signs of Erica. No trace of Jake. Just me, two growing boys, and the kind of peace that only comes after a storm you chose not to chase. She used to call me emotionless. She was wrong. I feel everything. I just don't perform it. And now, I don't need to explain that to anyone. Not her. Not the court. Not the world. Because the outcome spoke louder than any apology ever could. And I've never believed in second chances from people who destroy you the first time. 3 months after the ruling, I saw her at the grocery store. She didn't notice me at first. She was standing in the frozen aisle, staring at a bag of peas like it held all the answers she never asked until it was too late. Her face looked thinner, makeup barely on. The shine she used to flaunt like a badge, gone. She turned, caught my eye. Her lips moved, but no words came out. I just nodded once and walked past her. Not because I hated her, but because we had nothing left to say. Her story had already been told in court filings and custody rulings. Mine was written in ink she never saw until it was on paper in front of a judge. The boys were thriving. Our house was quiet, steady. Routines replaced drama. Homework got done. Bedtime stuck. Laughter, the real kind, came back. It was strange how quickly normal life returned once chaos was removed. They asked less and less about their mom. Not because I made her a villain, but because children know where peace lives. One evening, my oldest asked if I was ever going to get remarried. I told him the truth. Maybe, but not to someone who needs to be louder than they are loyal. He nodded like he understood more than a child should. In the background, Erica was still trying to fight the silence, calling relatives, blaming an unfair system, telling friends I manipulated the courts. But no one argued with court records. She once said I was cold. I prefer the word measured. Her mistake was confusing stillness with weakness. But still waters don't crack under pressure. They drown those who fall in too deep without knowing the bottom. The last message she ever sent me came weeks later. No anger. No blame. Just, you really never raised your voice. Not once. She was right. Because I don't raise my voice. I raise standards. And when someone can't meet them, I lower my exposure, not my expectations. The message sat unread in the archive. Because silence isn't just power. It's closure. Real closure isn't a conversation. It's a clean line drawn by actions, backed by evidence, sealed by judgment, reinforced by custody. I didn't win by arguing. I won by refusing to join her chaos. She lost everything trying to be louder. I rebuilt everything by being quieter. It's been a year since the court handed down its ruling. No appeals. No more hearings. No emergency motions. Just order, structure, and quiet. Erica faded from the day-to-day like a background noise you don't notice until it's gone, and then realize how peaceful the silence actually feels. The boys settled in fully. They stopped flinching when the phone rang. Stopped asking if Jake was coming to school plays. Started drawing pictures with just me in them. Their therapist said they were adapting better than expected because I stayed steady when everything else collapsed. That was the key. Not punishment. Not revenge. Just consistency. The quiet kind. I didn't need to rebuild my reputation because I never let it get destroyed. I didn't scream about betrayal online. Didn't drag her name through group chats or family dinners. I stayed quiet. Documented. Showed up. Over and over. That's what turned the tide. A few months back, I got an invitation to speak at a fatherhood support group. Clay, my lawyer, had referred me. Said, most guys want to burn everything down. You didn't. That matters. I stood in front of 12 men in folding chairs. I didn't tell them to be angry. I told them to be patient. Don't let your pain write checks you can't cash in court. I said, let your documentation speak for you. Because emotion won't get you custody. But records? They'll move mountains. One guy cried. Another hugged me after. I walked out feeling lighter than I ever had. Later that night, I sat with my boys on the back porch. Fall breeze cutting through the trees. We roasted marshmallows over a small fire pit. My youngest said, This is better than last year. He didn't mean just the fire. I nodded. Yeah, it is. Erica still gets her supervised visits. Once a week. Monitored. The boys don't talk about them much. When they come home, they're quiet for a bit. Then they come back to life. They know the difference now between love that performs and love that protects. I used to think being silent made me weak. Now I know it's what made me strong. Because anyone can scream. Anyone can lash out. But it takes discipline to let the storm pass and still be standing when the sky clears. Erica played the short game. Emotion, spectacle, speed. I played the long one. Logic, timing, silence. And in the end, the quiet man kept everything that mattered. Because the loudest revenge is peace. And I never had to say a single cruel word to win it. Drop it in the comments. Hit subscribe. This is where we talk about what doesn't get forgiven.